Yeah.
And I've always admired that you figured out when we were really young. I mean, when I met you, you quit. And, you know, we were both in our early 20s.
Yeah.
And you were like, fuck this.
Right.
I'm not going down that road. And you didn't need anything. You didn't need Alcoholics Anonymous. You're like, no, I'm not doing it.
I did some therapy. That helped. I just needed to realize that once I realized that, and I had gone to Al-Anon because of my dad, adult child of alcoholic meetings, which helped me a phenomenal amount just to realize that that it's a disease and that, you know, you're powerless to it. I read the literature of the 12 steps, and it helped me because it made me realize that when I wanted a drink, something was going on.
Yeah.
And to this day, I just have that reaction. I know that I still want to drink all the time, but when I really want to drink, I stop and I go, all right, what's stressing you out? What do you need to deal with? And then I just kind of focus on it.
Yeah. Yeah, there was, when I was a kid, my dad was an architect, and so I worked on a lot of construction sites. And I met a lot of junkies, a lot of junkies. A lot of people on construction sites are either alcoholics or drug addicts. And there was this one guy that I really liked. He's a funny guy, man. Really funny guy, and he's in a band. His name was Robbie. Funny fucking dude. Loved hanging around with him. But just couldn't stay off the coke.
Wow.
Couldn't stay off the coke. And you could totally tell. He'd be honest about it too. Say how he went off the rails, and we would be working together. He was a carpenter, and I was, like a laborer, so I was like an apprentice. And so he'd be, talking to me while he's explaining to me how to do things and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, I'm just fucking tired of this. I'm getting my shit together. The band's getting back together again. We're writing songs and this and that. And then he'd come in Monday looking like shit. Just looking like shit. Real grumpy. Didn't want to talk. Had a headache.
Yeah.
And, and he'd admit it, went off the rails.
Right. The saddest thing is that when you first start doing drugs, and I don't know about you, but I had a phenomenal time doing cocaine. Mushrooms and all the stuff I did as a teenager was like, I never got hooked on it. And if you do it, maybe I did coke 50 times without ever getting hooked, it's a blast. That's the best kept secret. But then once you get hooked, you're not even having fun anymore. You're just maintaining. You're just feeding it so you don't crash. With heroin, you're just trying to avoid withdrawals. You're not even feeling that great anymore.
I think with Robbie, too, part of the problem was he was very disappointed in himself.
Yeah.
It was booze, too. He would just go off the rails and try to keep it together. It's like there's a lot of people out there that they have a dream, and then the pressure of trying to reach that dream, like his dream is to be in a successful band, right? And the pressure of trying to reach that dream and see it to fruition, it just seems unreachable.
Yeah.
It seems too far off. And here you are, you're in your 30s, and you're working a construction job, and, you fucking work all day in Boston in the winter. You're tired as shit when you get home. You don't want to go to band practice.
Yeah.
You get home at 6:30, you have dinner, and now it's 7:30. You got to get up.
Right.
You got to get up in a few hours.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? When are you going to bed? You got to get up at 6. Like,
then you go to
fuck.
band practice and the drummer doesn't show up, so
Right.
you can't practice. Or
He's 45 minutes late, his car breaks down, and you're fucking pissed, and your girlfriend's screaming at you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Then try to have a relationship on top of that. Tell that girl you can't go out on Saturday night ever because you're doing gigs.
And then the gigs suck, and you're not making any money, and they're like, you should get a job. The gigs suck. You should get a job.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And then you're in a band, so girls are throwing themselves at you. Have an affair. She's got some coke.
Now it's good. Now the story turned around.
I turned it around.
Now it's exciting again. The time when you're young, when you're having fun, is so fleeting.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden responsibilities stack up. And all of a sudden, you have to pay bills. You have obligations. You have so much that you have to think about.
Yeah.
For so many people, there's this period of their life where they look back to whimsically. Like, that was the time when I was free.
Yeah.
I was young and my dick got hard all the time.
That's the loss of innocence, is when you realize at a certain point that you do have to pick a path and stay on it.
Oh, yeah. You better.
Because you got to pay the bills with it. And, and then what's so sad is you see people that work so fucking hard for not a lot of money. And, bills just add up. And then they save just enough when they get their vacation twice a year. They'll go to, like, a cruise and they'll just drink nonstop for a week. And at the end of it, they're just hungover. They blew the excess money they had. And that was it? That's what you worked all year for?
I had a friend of mine who worked in a restaurant, and one of the guys who worked with saved up his money for 8 years. Went to Vegas and blew it in one day.
God.
It was the most heartbreaking story. This poor guy, I think he was a dishwasher, and he worked there for 8 years.
Yeah.
Like set aside 50 here, 25 there. Set aside for 8 fucking years.
Yeah.
And I think it was some good amount of money, like $30,000.
Shit.
Went there with a plan. This is it, baby. I'm good at blackjack, or whatever the fuck he played.
He read a book.
A lot of guys read books.